Have you ever wondered how information travels through a strand thinner than a human hair? Behind every internet connection lies an invisible network built with millimeter precision, fiber optics. This material, derived from quartz and transformed through chemical, thermal and optical processes, allows light to carry data at speeds approaching 300,000 kilometers per second. In this video, you'll discover how science and engineering transform a simple grain of sand into the backbone of modern telecommunications. Every digital connection, every data transmission or video call relies on a strand of glass thinner than a human hair. Though it may seem like a simple element, fiber optics is the backbone of global communications. Its function is to carry pulses of light that travel at nearly the speed of light, allowing information to be transmitted over enormous distances without signal degradation. For many years, copper cables dominated the telecommunications industry. However, their limited conductivity, tendency to overheat, and vulnerability to electromagnetic interference made them inefficient in the face of exponential data growth. Optical fiber replaced copper because it doesn't rely on electricity, but rather on the propagation of light through a highly transparent material. While electrons are slowed down by the resistance of the metal, light can travel thousands of kilometers with minimal power loss. Behind this apparent simplicity lies an extremely precise industrial process. Optical fiber isn't produced in conventional workshops, but in plants with cleanliness levels comparable to pharmaceutical laboratories or operating rooms. It all begins with a basic component, quartz sand. But not just any sand will do. The sand used must be so pure that in 1 million particles, barely one can contain an impurity. Ordinary sand contains salts, metal oxides, and organic matter that would scatter light in fractions of a second. Therefore, high-purity synthetic or natural quartz is used, which undergoes a series of controlled chemical transformations. Through a process called vapor phase oxidation, the quartz is converted into gaseous compounds, primarily silicon tetrachloride, SiCl4, and germanium tetrachloride, GeCl4. In this stage, the solid is transformed into a gas and then back into a completely transparent and homogeneous glass. This process takes place in closed reactors where the air is filtered in multiple stages to remove any particles. Humidity, pressure, and temperature are controlled with millimeter precision. A simple change of 1 degree or a microscopic speck of dust can compromise an entire production batch. During the gas phase, additives are incorporated in precise proportions to modify the optical properties of the glass. One of the most important is germanium, which allows the refractive index to be adjusted, determining whether the fiber will be suitable for long distances or short-range metropolitan networks. The result of this process is an ultra-pure, transparent and uniform glass that will serve as the base raw material for all subsequent processes. Once the purified glass is obtained, the preform creation stage begins. This cylindrical structure will serve as the mold from which kilometers of optical fiber will be extracted. This phase involves working not with sand or powder, but with a hollow glass tube that acts as the initial support. The tube is mounted on a rotating machine that spins it at a constant speed, while a stream of reactive gases derived from silicon and germanium is introduced. A high-intensity flame heats the tube to over 1,500 degrees Celsius. When the gases come into contact with the incandescent wall, they react and precipitate as tiny glass particles that adhere to the inside of the tube. Each rotation deposits another layer. Over time, the interior is coated with a uniform, extremely pure glassy material. In this stage, 2 fundamental zones of the future cable are defined, the optical cladding and the core. The cladding forms a barrier that prevents light from escaping, while the central core is the medium through which the light signal will travel. The difference between the two materials is established by the refractive index. The core has a slightly higher value, which causes the light to be confined and travel by bouncing internally, as in an infinite tunnel of mirrors. Once the necessary layers have been deposited, the tube is heated again until the inner walls melt and seal, forming a solid cylinder. This cylinder is known as a preform. Each preform is examined using optical and mechanical inspections, those exhibiting microscopic bubbles, cracks, or variations in composition that could cause signal loss are discarded. Only cylinders with complete transparency proceed to the next stage. The accepted preform is transferred to the drawing tower, a vertical installation that can reach over 10 meters in height. The glass cylinder is placed at the top, while at the bottom a system of bobbins is ready to receive the resulting yarn. The purpose is to transform this solid block into a continuous uniform yarn with a controlled diameter. The lower end of the preform is placed in an electric oven. At this temperature, the glass doesn't break down, but rather softens gradually. The material begins to flow by gravity, forming a droplet, and from this droplet the initial strand of fiber emerges. At this point, the filament is so thin and fragile that any vibration could break it. The fiber is then captured by a system of guides that pull it downwards. The descent speed must remain constant. If it speeds up, the diameter decreases too much. If it slows down, the fiber thickens. Standard optical fiber has a diameter of 125 microns, equivalent to the average thickness of a human hair. To maintain this accuracy, laser sensors monitor the diameter in real time. If variations are detected, the system automatically adjusts the temperature or drawing speed. Production rates are high. Hundreds of meters are produced per minute, and tens of kilometers of fiber can be obtained in a single day without interruption. The entire process takes place in a sealed, dust-free and temperature-controlled environment to preserve the purity of the material. Once the fiber is formed, the next challenge is to protect it without altering its optical properties. The strand that comes out of the tower is extremely thin and brittle. It cannot be handled or installed directly. That's why it is immediately coated with special polymeric materials. Upon exiting the oven, the fiber passes through a coating machine that immerses it in a channel filled with liquid polymer. This first coating forms a soft, flexible inner layer that absorbs impacts and allows the fiber to bend without breaking. The yarn then passes through a second channel that applies a more rigid outer layer designed to resist abrasion, moisture, and dust. The two layers serve complementary functions. The inner layer provides cushioning, and the outer layer provides structural rigidity. These coatings are applied in fractions of a second. To solidify the polymer, the fiber passes through curing chambers with high-power ultraviolet light. Upon irradiation, the material polymerizes instantly, hardening without slowing down the production line. During the coating process, optical systems verify the thickness of each layer. If any layer exceeds or falls short of the programmed value, the machine adjusts the polymer pressure or the intensity of the UV lamps. The end result is a fiber coated with micrometer precision, flexible, strong, and ready for handling in the subsequent manufacturing stages. Producing kilometers of continuous fiber is not enough. Every meter must meet international standards that guarantee stable data transmission. Multiple optical and mechanical tests are carried out in this section. The first check is attenuation measurement. Laser pulses are injected at one end, and the amount of energy reaching the other is measured. The allowable loss is minimal. Any deviation indicates internal micro-defects that scatter the light. Fibers that do not meet the standard are automatically removed. The second evaluation is mechanical. Lengths of fiber are placed in tensile testing machines that apply tensions equivalent to several kilograms of force. The aim is to verify that the fiber can withstand the tension it will be subjected to when installed in land or submarine networks. If the fiber shows microcracks or does not reach the specified strength, it is rejected. Flexural tests are also performed. The fiber is wound onto reels of very small radii to verify that it does not break or increase attenuation. This is vital because, in practice, the cables must adapt to bends, splices, and irregular paths. All tests are monitored in real time using high-resolution cameras and laser sensors integrated into the production line. When the system detects an anomaly, it automatically cuts off the defective section. At the end of the shift, the approved fiber is wound onto reels several kilometers long. Each reel receives an individual code along with a detailed report of its optical and mechanical parameters. Once verified, the optical fiber becomes the core of the cable. Its function is to protect it from mechanical stress and environmental conditions. Depending on the design, the fibers can be arranged in flat ribbons or thin plastic tubes, which allow them freedom of movement to avoid direct stress on the glass. A thixotropic gel is applied inside the tubes to block moisture and dampen vibrations. To reinforce the structure, Kevlar, a lightweight and strong material that distributes the load without affecting the fiber, is added. Some models include a central fiberglass or steel rod for greater rigidity. Finally, they are coated with a layer of high-density polyethylene, resistant to sun, humidity, and temperature changes. In submarine cables, metallic layers are added to protect them from pressure and corrosion. Once the fiber optic cables pass quality testing, they are transported to the installation site. The method depends on the environment. In urban areas, they are usually laid in underground ducts using equipment that digs micro-trenching tunnels, while in rural or hard-to-reach areas they are installed on poles. One modern technique is microduct blowing, where the cable is inserted into small tubes and propelled with pressurized air, speeding up installation and preventing damage. In the case of submarine cables, specialized vessels lay them on the seabed with the help of robots that guide their path. Thanks to their metallic reinforcements, these cables withstand ocean pressure for decades. Once installed, the fibers must be joined with great precision to ensure lossless light transmission. Fusion splicing is used, which aligns the fiber ends and joins them with an electric arc, creating a continuous connection. The splices are protected with heat shrink tubing and housed in sealed trays. High-precision optical connectors are placed at the ends to guarantee link quality. Next, technicians verify performance using instruments such as the OTDR, optical time domain reflectometer, which detects splices, bends, or internal faults. Optical power, latency, and transmission capacity are also measured before the network is approved. With all tests passed, activation begins. Optical line terminals, OLTS, are installed at the central offices, emitting light pulses containing digital information. These pulses travel through the fiber optic cable to the optical network terminals, ONTS, in homes, where the signal is converted into electrical signals to power the routers. Once the power, stability, and signal-to-noise ratio are verified, the network is officially operational. Optical fiber, made from ultra-pure quartz, is a masterpiece of modern engineering. Its production combines high-precision chemical, thermal, and optical processes that allow data to be transmitted at the speed of light. It is the foundation of global connectivity. Without it, there would be no video calls, no digital commerce, and no flow of information that sustains the modern world.